at tonight's meeting, Wednesday, December 11th, 6 p.m. Chelsea, you want to do the roll call?
Yes. Okay, Alex. I do not see her yet. Ryan.
Present.
David is not here yet. Dawn.
Present.
Kim.
Present.
Peck. She did say she was not going to be here today. Will.
Here.
And Lori, I do not see yet either.
All righty. Are there any changes to the agenda? Not seeing any. Public comment. Do we have any public with us tonight?
Lindy, are you here observing or do you have public comment?
I'm just here observing tonight. Thanks.
Wonderful. Welcome.
We did gain Alex too.
Oh, Alex joined us?
Yep.
I'm here. Hi.
Hi, welcome, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you.
All righty. So no public comment. Consent agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? And I would entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Excellent. Second. All righty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Consent agenda approved. New business. Council goals. Rochelle, take it away.
All right. Well, we were just talking about how a couple of years ago we were in front of the Parks Board having this very same discussion, probably 6 months new into my employment with the City of Sandy. And here we are, fast forward, and we get to talk about all the work that we've done over the last couple of years, and then we get to chart the course for the future. So I did create a PowerPoint, and the team was teasing me because part of our agenda is called Death by PowerPoint, because I broke all the rules when it comes to PowerPoint. I filled it with lots of words, little pictures, actually no pictures. This is purely going to be Death by PowerPoint. So let me, oh, can you guys all see it?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, here we go, Death by PowerPoint. So tonight we're going to review the mission and the vision and our accomplishments as a department, just to remind the group, what have we done and what is our department's mission and vision that's helping us guide us moving forward, basically our North Star. We'll review draft goals, and then we will discuss, I love it, Dawn's drawing, that's great. And then
a new tool popped up on my screen. That's great. Curious what it did. Okay, I'll quit playing. Go ahead, keep going.
I love it. Feel free to be artistic if it keeps the group entertained. So, and we'll discuss and prioritize our goals as a group. So one of the things I just want to remind this group of is that tonight the Parks Board will discuss these draft rules that were created and vetted by staff. And then based on the discussion that the Parks Board has, that discussion will move forward to the council goal setting session in January. Now, they oftentimes take the recommendations, but I do just want to remind this group that ultimately it's the council's decision how and what goals are formulated for the next biennium, 2025-2027. Your input is valued, but I just want to put that disclaimer out there that it's definitely a guidance. There is influence. And so if you've heard or seen or have a comment that represents what you've heard on the streets for the City of Sandy, please, by all means, speak up, let us know. Oftentimes you're the ones that are helping us as a department figure out those next steps and where we need to go. So real quick reminder, our mission as a department, the City of Sandy's Parks and Recreation team will help engage and strengthen community belonging by developing and maintaining safe, clean, and accessible parks, as well as providing inclusive and diverse programs and services. Our vision is to aim to advance Sandy's parks and program services and policies while striving to be a leader in the field of parks and recreation and a pillar to the community of Sandy. And I would have to say this one we're particularly proud of as far as a pillar to the community and our field. Just, thinking about Cedar Park and celebrating that success, I do think we charted forward a new action sports facility that will help lead what's happening in our region. So we should be proud of that as a department and as a Parks and Rec board. So real quick, we did see this last time when we discussed the budget, but I just wanted to remind everybody that the 2023-2025 goals for council and our alignment with those goals include the following. So construct the community campus park improvements. Check, we completed that. As a reminder, we did have design and construct park improvements for Deer Point Park in 2023 and 2025, and that currently is in progress. We were asked to research and act upon the purchase of parkland for future park facilities and or natural areas and open space preservation. Again, we're in the research phase on that one, so just wanting to remind everybody where we're at with that goal. There was an ask that we work with the Oregon Trail School District for developing new facility use agreements. And again, currently we're strategizing with the administration and council on how to best approach this. And so that's a goal that I can see us continuing towards. And explore ways to connect Sandy residents with aquatic opportunities, including swim lessons and water safety programs. We did complete that goal for 2023-2025. And then reestablish a volunteer program and expand volunteer opportunities. And again, we completed that goal for 2023-2025. So let's dive into how I broke these goals up. And again, these are draft goals. I'm not going to read all of this to you because that would totally be against anything that would be interesting. But I do want everybody to know that there are some rollover goals from 2023 to 2025. And one of them is the Deer Point Park construction. And we're in the planning, design review phase and land use phase. And we're also working closely with the Bull Run Terrace development, which is directly next door to Deer Point. There was money allocated in the 2023-2025 budget. So this one will be a rollover to 2025-2027. We started the Meinig Park renovation, which is currently in progress, and we've all been involved in some of those initial public input, the open houses. We're sending out a survey about Fantasy Forest. So we're in that beginning phase of the Meinig Park renovation. So again, something that would roll over to 2023, 2025, or make sense to roll over to that next biennium. And then looking at trying to secure funding for the construction phase of it. Continuing to work with the school district on an IGA, which is an intergovernmental agreement. And so what this would be is, how do we access school gyms, properties? What do we have as a city that we could offer to the school district and vice versa? And how do we work with them so when we do our mountain storm events or our different events, we aren't paying for gym use? So this is one of those things where it could be worked out through an intergovernmental agreement. And then continuing rollover goals, or it could become an expectation of the department, are continuing those aquatic opportunities. And this year we were able to offer aquatic opportunities through $15,000 that the council had awarded last biennium that allowed us to connect the community to swimming and aquatic opportunities. And what we did, and this is to John's credit, so thank you, John and his team, they were creative in working with Mount Hood Athletic Club to offer discounted swim lessons, senior water exercise classes, and then passes for the community for recreation swims. So that was a really successful program. We have metrics on that. We were able to squirrel a little bit of that money away into a trustee account that would hopefully, and our goal is to continue to grow that trustee account and continue to offer these aquatic opportunities to the community through partnerships, through agencies or businesses like Mount Hood Athletic Club. And then again, future park and natural space acquisition. This again would be a rollover from 2023, 2025. And it's just keeping our ear to the ground to see what properties are out there, the size that we would desire. There's been a talk about ball fields. And so making sure that we have relatively flat land that could accommodate roughly about 20 acres if we want to put large complex sports fields on that property. And then Winterfest expansion. And again, just rewinding about 2 years ago, when the council was so very excited about Winterfest, we were excited. They provided us $100,000 to get this program up and running. And I would humbly brag that Winterfest is it is like our signature event that we do for the city with the city of Sandy, besides Mountain Festival. So those two events have kind of become our two annual events that have a significant tourism and draw. So we as a team thought, can we keep expanding this program? And then our new goals. So this is our idea of what we would suggest to the group to discuss and weigh in on. So now talking about our new goals for 2025, 2027. So what we've heard and what we've experienced, and according to the research as far as staffing levels, as we add park acreage, we develop parks and eventually purchase parks. We have a mighty but small parks team. And so one of the things that we definitely that would meet our vision is making sure that we're maintaining the quality of our parks, the safety of our parks. And we really want to make sure that we're providing a safe and green and maintained space, as well as keeping up with our newly renovated and built park projects. So in order to do this successfully, we would be asking for an additional parks maintenance staff member. And so that's one of our goals that we're hoping to promote moving forward into 2025, 2027. The other thing that we've identified as a Park and Recreation Department is we're also, and we haven't added this to our title, but as a department, we also are responsible for all facility maintenance. So Tiana and her team, we talk about how they're small and mighty. They also are the ones that are out there changing the light bulbs in the facility. Tiana's assisting the police department with bids and designs for window replacement. You have, I'm missing a ton of it, but they are all responsible for the facilities within the city of Sandy. We do not technically have a dedicated facilities person to identify assets that we would need additional maintenance, upkeep, a strategy to make sure that when we do invest, that's being kept up on. And so this is something we would be asking for based on, again, feedback we've received from other department directors and the need for us to have somebody dedicated to facility maintenance. And then this person, what we've dreamt up is they would be the person that would help us with requests for proposals, potentially coming up with a list of preferred contractors, which would expedite any maintenance we would need to do. So this would be a vitally important person moving forward as a city for us to be able to maintain and invest in our facilities. And then Tickle Creek Restoration and Planning. We wanted to make a nod to this because that is very, very important that we take care of this asset. With all the weather and storm damage that we've had, we need to start investing in this cherished community asset. And it's not an easy process in that it's a salmon bearing stream. We're within of the FSH, which is the flood slope hazard zone. So there's a lot of different governmental agencies that will be required to take this project from start to finish. So part of that is a planning and recommendation stage, which would bring in those experts to help us identify how do we actually pursue this project in a way that honors and takes care of our natural resource. And then trail construction and enhancements. That is always, of course, one of our goals that we look at is where can we prioritize trail construction and improvements. And then with this, the goal could potentially be working with a nonprofit, like an agency like Northwest Trail Alliance, for example. And they help with the Sandy Ridge trail system. They've built some trails on private property out on the West Hills in Portland. So if you find an agency or our department finds an agency or a nonprofit like this group, we could potentially partner to exchange in trail building and maintenance for ideas with Cedar Park or other things that we can exchange in kind. And then Okay, so this is the one graph I put in the slideshow to keep it really interesting and everybody's attention. So we are currently, last week we learned, or the last meeting we learned about our budget. And so today we are talking about goal setting, and we'll discuss that as a group. And I'll ask that the Parks Board please weigh in on any of your thoughts, again, anything you've heard in the community. And then there'll be a recommendation portion where the Parks Board will identify how you want to rank and prioritize the goals, delete some goals, add some goals. This is open for any discussions this group would like to do. And then that recommendation would go towards or to the council in January for their goal setting session. So one of the things I did is I took all those goals that I just reviewed with the group and I put them in a graph, and I took a shot at prioritizing them just based on a few factors. And again, this is just a suggestion and these can be changed, but I wanted to start out with Deer Point construction. So for 2023, 2025, we did have $1.5 million allocated towards that project. Those funds will roll over into 2025, 2027. That funding source for that project are system development charges. So I put that as a priority one, in that we know we're in the process of that. We have funds dedicated. This is a project that we're keeping it up as a priority. Meinig Park renovation, there was $200,000 in 2023, 2025 dedicated towards minor improvements, safety improvements, and then also a planning phase on, again, how do we update and renovate Meinig Park for the future use for 20 to 30 years forward. And so phase one, and we're currently in the estimate phase with the Lango Hansen Landscape Architects, which you guys have all met. They're working on estimates for a phased approach. And we're estimating currently right now about $2 to $4 million just for phase one, which could include trail renovation, stream restoration, and any of those really high priority things that we want to touch on and do in our Meinig first phase of our renovation. And then the matching funds for this, so we would leverage system development charges, and we would go out for a local government grant through Oregon Park and Recreation Department. And hopefully with those two pots of money, we can make a significant change in Meinig for the community, especially based on how Meinig Park in the month of December saw 17,000 visits for Winterfest, and roughly the same, if not more, for Mountain Festival. So we've got a lot of visits at that park. Then the Oregon Trail School District IGA, there was no funds allocated. There's no funds needed. It's looking at a partnership. And again, as a priority 3, I would hate to see that go off the list. It does provide a guidance for us to continue to have those conversations. How can we creatively work with the Oregon Trail School District to potentially formulate or come up with an intergovernmental agreement? Aquatic programs, there was $15,000 dedicated in 2023, 2025. We would be asking for, and again, based on priorities, an additional $15,000 this next budget cycle. So we'd be basically starting with the next biennium with what we started with last biennium. And that would come from the general fund, but then our goal would be adding to that through the trustee account. So investing that $15,000 back in the community, making a little money off of those programs that will go back into the trustee account that will grow that program eventually. Winterfest expansion. So this would be a policy discussion and a goal for the council. They did give an award $100,000 out of the general fund to basically grow that program. So the idea would be, how big do we want to take this program? What money is willing from the general fund to continue to be invested in the Winterfest expansion? And again, that's a discussion amongst this group. It's a discussion amongst the council. And then we did look at an opportunity of, the team does an absolute stellar job of fundraising. And so we could step up our efforts to do additional fundraising that would help offset, not potentially another $100,000 ask, but something lower. And then we could look at fundraising to help support the expansion of Winterfest. And then you'll see that we added the one full-time equivalent parks maintenance employee. There was no funds allocated in 2023, 2025 for that. We would be asking for roughly in 25, 27, about $75,000 for a parks maintenance person, and that does include 60% markup for benefits. And then our facility lead person, same thing, it would be 93,000 including benefits. So that's another 60% markup from that grade 1 in our current structure as far as pay. So Tickle Creek Planning and Restoration, again, 0 funds were allocated in the fiscal year 23-25. However, I have written and submitted a grant to the Oregon Department of Forestry for the amount of $490,691 for the first phase, which would be the planning phase. And so it'd be the studying, the planning, the recommendation phase of Tickle Creek. And then hopefully reapplying if we get that grant. So fingers crossed, we get that grant, we can do phase 1 through a grant. And then in the next biennium or the following year, write a grant again that would fund the actual restoration portion of that project. And then future parkland acquisition. We do have money from our fee in lieu that we receive in lieu of parkland dedication. So when a developer comes in, and I'm sure you guys all remember this, but a quick refresher, if a developer comes in, they can either donate parkland or they can pay us a fee in lieu of parkland. Currently, we have budgeted $1.5 million for parkland acquisition. And then that money could roll over in 25-27. And that, again, that funding source is our fee in lieu. And trail construction and enhancements, we had a $68,000 grant in 23-25 through the Recreation Trails program. And that also was a grant that was through the Oregon Park and Recreation Department. We used that grant to build the Cedar Creek Trail, which connects Cedar Creek Park to the Sandy River Park. And it's that 3/4 mile trail that winds its way down from the northwest side of Cedar Park down to Sandy River. And one of the things that we would ask for in 25-27 is roughly about $100,000, but that would come from grants, the general fund, partnerships. There would be a small amount of system development charges that we could use towards future trails and enhancements. But that is basically those goals summarized in a chart with just staff suggestions on where we kind of prioritize things. Again, this is open for edit, comments. I will happily take notes as we discuss this. But I guess with this quick summary, Dawn, I would turn it over to you and just ask, there's a series of questions, but I think this group can probably, if we get stuck, I'll lead on some of these questions, but otherwise, I would turn it over to the group to discuss what you all think of these goals and if there's things we should add, subtract, reprioritize. So Don, you have the floor.
Thank you, and nice job. I appreciate the spreadsheet, kind of puts everything kind of out there in perspective. I think it's important to note that the P1, P2, P3 that the priorities. Just because it's priority 3 doesn't mean that it's not thought of until the very last minute. I think that it's important to remember that every one of these is a high priority, and that while there's numbers and pretty colors assigned to them, doesn't mean that it's necessarily the bottom of a barrel kind of thing either. But it's still a high priority. How does everybody feel as far as moving forward? Are there things that people are wishing we would have covered or included in the goals, or are we missing some? I can think of one in particular that I'd like to bring up and discuss in a little bit, but I want to get everybody else's feelings on how they felt about this. That'd be a cue for anybody that wants to chime in here.
I'm really happy to see the last line item in there, the trail construction and enhancements. And for a 2-year, that's a 2-year number, right?
Yes.
26, 27. I don't know why it strikes me as low. I mean, I know it's above what we had for 23 and 25, and I don't know how much of this Tatiana's group takes on just as the natural course of doing maintenance. But I mean, some of our existing trail, and I'm glad Tickle Creek like in there separately, right? So that's maybe that was also included in 23 through 25. So maybe I'm all wet, but I just like the Jim Slagle Trail really needs some attention. A couple of the other trails, and we're expanding too, right? So we have more trails now. I don't know. It just, my initial gut was that was maybe for a 2-year deal that was kind of low. But again, I don't know how much of this Tatiana takes on just out of her maintenance budget.
Tiana, you want to kind of round out some information for us there?
There we go. My maintenance budget absorbs a decent amount, either my maintenance and my professional services line items. A lot of it comes in where we're having to outsource tree removal with local tree companies coming in and helping. We've also been able to partner with Ant Farm quite a bit on some trail maintenance. They have a fuels reduction team that's always looking for training and saw work and climbing. So they have been coming out and doing some of that work at no charge to the city and using it as training. So we've got some good partnerships going on, but my budget does absorb some of that. And I completely agree with you, Will, that we need to really focus on the Jim Slagle.
Yes, I'm glad we have that tree services and things like that to offset. But it's really erosion that's I think is the main bugger there, just because of the steep slope and that in the lower Sandy River Trail. I mean, which is obviously always a challenge, but that might, maybe in the future, that lower trail is a separate project in of itself. Because that's just going to be ongoing. So anyway, just my opinion.
All right, Alex, how about you? What are you seeing there?
Yeah, I guess this is just me being a little more naive, I guess, but can you maybe, Rochelle, I don't know if you guys help me understand the difference between just the trail like enhancements versus the Tickle Creek planning and restoration, because they're both trails. I'm just trying to figure out like what the difference is because you have them in two different priorities. And so that's all I'm kind of thinking right now because I'm like, I know I want to, we all want Tickle Creek to be back to, the way it was or however, make it better. But what's the difference, I guess, between
And I
those
can
two
start
initiatives?
Yeah, good question. And I can start, and Tiana, feel free to jump in if you want to add anything. So trail construction would obviously, that's going to be any new trail construction based on the Parks and Trails Master Plan. Any of those enhancements could include like the Marcy Street access to the Sandy River Trail. So that would be an enhancement. Tickle Creek is called out separately because it is such a high use trail in the heart of Sandy, and it sits right in riparian areas in a zone that there would be a lot of state agencies that would be involved to any restoration that would happen. The other thing that has been experienced in Tickle Creek is there was just such an incredible amount of damage in this last storm that and then this is where Tiana can speak to this better than I can, but just the absolute amount of trees that came down with that high wind, some of them landing in that stream, actually a lot of them. So it would go, what trees do we remove? What trees do we keep? What work can we do? When can we do it? Who do we have to permit? So a different approach in that we would have to bring in specialists and, environmental scientists who could help us plan that approach in a way that's benefiting that natural area and abiding by laws, essentially.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah. Tiana, do you have anything to add to that I might have missed?
You covered it unless there's any other questions.
Nope. That answered my question.
All righty. Kim, what's your thinking here?
I don't think I really have anything to add. I'm just sort of listening and trying to understand it all.
Okay, Ryan.
Um, I'm taking the Parks Department's advice on this. They know what the priorities are, and I agree with those priorities, the Deer Point Park, the Minnick Park, and then the maintenance, because as our parks grow, we also need people to help support that growth and like make sure that the parks are maintained to the standards that the Parks Department holds themselves to. So I mean, and like you said, Don, like all these things are priorities, and just because they have like the pink coloring doesn't mean like, or the P3 next to it doesn't mean that it's like less than like anything else. It's just like there's some big hitters that really need, and then like there's other ones that are like hitters but also not quite, you know. So I completely agree with it. I see no issues with it. I know that you have something, so I'm kind of curious of what you have.
Okay, well, I too agree with everything that is shown there. I feel confident supporting it. There is one item that I would like to see added to it, and that is simply, if memory serves correctly, when we approved the new SDC charges and fee in lieu, we did it with a schedule of advancement that was to begin 1 year after the approval of those fees and charges. I believe after 1 year, the city council pretty much said, you know, we're going to hold them steady and not make any adjustments for them. And I believe that it is time now to move forward with making the first adjustment to that systems development charge, and I believe also fee in lieu. I realize that it's a bit of a sensitive question right now, the sensitivity associated with the election, but the election is over. I believe that the new council is being ready to be seated. We'll be moving forward with the budget process, and to me, it seems like the optimal time to have that discussion around proceeding with making those adjustments and moving forward. Everything that we have on there, literally everything with the exception of the school IGA and well, everything other than that one could qualify either as a systems development charge for a new service or for a repair maintenance facilities of systems development charge or a fee in lieu. In order to accomplish this, we need to make sure that we have the financial stability and wherewithal to do it. And without beating this horse any longer, I think now is the time to move forward with that plan. So with that, I will put my little soapbox away, and I'd be interested to see what the other members of the committee think about adding adjustments to our STCs and fee in lieu. Again, opportunity for you to jump in and share your thoughts. And it's okay if your thoughts are, no, we don't think that's a good idea. I'm fine with that too.
No, I completely support it. Like I understand where you're coming from and wanting to make sure that you know, the adjustments are there just like to look at and to keep in top of mind, to kind of like as everything changes and grows that we are looking at that as well. So I would be supportive of adding that as an item on there to the
Alex, I'm seeing some
Yeah.
head nods.
I second it because I remember that conversation of it being like, hey, we're gonna just stop it, be stable for a little while, and then we'll revisit. So I think it's perfect time. You know, you got a new council coming in, you got fresh eyes. I think that it's a good time to revisit this, put it back on the table.
Okay, Kim, what's your feeling?
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling similar to that. Like we did talk about revisiting it. So
All righty. And Will, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Dawn, is there a priority you'd like to assign to that?
Yeah, I think it should be priority number one. I think that deserves the salmon color, I guess. So Rochelle, while you're adding that in there, let me ask, are you looking for a motion to recommend? Is there language that we need to make a motion around for you here?
Yeah, good question. I might not be able to add it right now, but I was taking notes. So just so the group knows that we'll reflect that in the meeting minutes and then
Your notes were showing up at the bottom of my screen anyway.
Oh, good. Okay, good. I was hoping you guys could see that. Okay. The motion is in the staff report, and it really, the way it reads is I move to acknowledge the Parks and Recreation Department's fiscal year 2023-2025 achievements and approve the proposed fiscal year 2025-2027 goals as presented. So this I don't know if you can, did I successfully switch shared screens?
Yes, you did. Well played. Yeah, a little bit bigger. How does everybody feel about that motion? Is anybody comfortable making that motion?
Should it say as amended, or since we have adjusted the one since it's originally presented? Since we added the line item.
Rochelle, that's a you question.
Oh, yes, that probably that would be a good idea, Ryan. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I move to acknowledge the Parks and Recreation Department's fiscal year 2023-2025 achievements and approve the proposed fiscal year 2025-2027 goals presented as goals as amended.
I second the motion.
Outstanding. Any further discussion? Don't see any. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Excellent. Rochelle, thank you
Nope.
very much.
Yes, my pleasure. And then just so the board understands, what will be happening next is I'll be taking the recommendations and supplying Tyler with essentially a white paper, and it'll include the notes that we talked about tonight. And then I'll use that chart, that green chart, and put that in as a supporting piece of document that the Parks Board recommended that, and add the SDCs, and then that will go before the council in January for the goal setting session. And I will make sure that the Parks Board is updated after those council goals are set, just so we know how that went with the council, and make sure I'll keep everybody up to date.
Very good. All righty. Moving along, no old business. How about staff updates? How are we doing?
Well, we are busy, and what I will do at this point is hand it over to the folks who are doing all the hard work for Winterfest, trail and park upkeep, and talk about some of the exciting events and different things we have coming up. So John, do you want to jump in and do an update?
Do I? Hello, everyone. Good evening. Yeah, update from the recreation side is for the past while, and currently we are pretty full-blown Winterfest events. We have kicked off with our tree lighting on November 22nd. We had a surprise flash mob at the tree lighting. The choir sang. I felt like you could hear them even more this year, even with the attendance. I was able to track the data of how many attended, and it looks like we were pushing 1,000 people that attended the tree lighting ceremony, and it felt that way when you were there. It was very busy, very happy, and that was also the start of our our lights at Meinig Park, so people were able to go and walk through the park that evening as well. Last Saturday, we had pet pictures with the Grinch. I don't know if you remember the weather last Saturday, but it felt like we got a foot of rain. But that event starts at 6 p.m. We got there at 4 to help set up. And at about 5:50, it stopped raining. And the event actually ended up being pretty much perfect. We had about 300 people come through, which is a little light, but the weather was pretty atrocious up to the start of the event. And there was a pretty significant football game that many people in Oregon, I think, were fond of. And so I think that limited a little bit of the attendance. But we talked afterwards, and we kind of thought that 300 level was the sweet spot. No one was waiting a ton in lines. Food didn't run out, but it got served up. People were able to get and experience everything in a way that seemed like not overly crowded, not Disneyland style lines. The Jolly Trolley has come and made 2 separate stops, and that has been successful. And then I can just kind of pitch going forward. We have a Stomp at Santa happening this weekend. We've got the Stocking Stroll on the 20th, where people will be able to go to the different participating businesses, stop in and get a treat and a goodie, and then look at their favorite design. The 21st, the Shortest Day Walkway, similar to Longest Day Parkway. You walk through the park, stop at different city-sponsored booths, and there's like a little map and a little little treasure hunt to go along with it. And then we end with our holiday happy hour on the 27th, and that will conclude the event section of Winterfest. Simultaneously, while we're all working on this kind of large-scale 6-week-long community event, it is also the start of Mountain Storm Youth Basketball League. So we are in the practice phase right now, but we have about 265 registered 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade boys and girls playing in our recreational youth basketball league. So another successful recruitment of a bunch of eager families and kiddos ready to go out there and have some fun playing basketball, learn some skills, and take part in a team. Oh, another cool thing. Internally, we've had some goals of how do we expand this? How do we continue to kind of make this better incrementally? One of the things is we wanted to add speakers to the park. So we've got permanent speakers throughout our park that can pump out music and have a PA system. So we're able to thank our sponsors, get on that microphone, and everyone hears it throughout the park at the same time. So that was super successful. We wanted to connect with more of our community members to have them be a part in these events. So last year when the Jolly Trolley would stop at Meinig Park, it would be, I mean, typically it was Chelsea and I handing out some cookies and hot cocoa and saying hi, but we've got like Jolly Trolley sponsors. So for our first event, we had the Baker Agency giving out hot cocoa. We had Rita's House, had a couple of their employees and kids come and play live music, a guitar and a cello, playing Christmas music. We had Mount Hood Hospice doing luminaries on the stage and writing letters and notes to people who couldn't be there for the holidays. And it's just really fun to see the community come together and want to engage in this awesome event with us. And I guess the last thing is how do we promote this? We do a pretty good job on social media. We're in our local newspapers, but Fox 12 News got a hold of us and came out, and we were on Good Morning Oregon, and got to be interviewed about Winterfest in the Jolly Trolley on a live shot, and then walking through the park on a live shot. And got a lot of text messages being like, "Hey, you're famous now." So no, that was pretty cool, and just it's just fun to see these goals come to fruition. And while this event takes a lot of time and effort, it's pretty darn rewarding, especially this time of year. So I would say those are our updates as far as staffing goes. And I guess our entire team, at least on the rec and senior side, and the amount of work they put into making these things happen. So that's Carol, Amy, Carolina, Mark, Chelsea on our side. It's a heavy lift, and they do it with a smile on their face, and just couldn't be prouder.
Right, Tiana, do you want to, thank you, John, for that. That was great. Tiana, do you want to give an update?
Yeah, so to follow that up and piggyback what John's saying, incredibly proud of my parks team. We put in 480 hours just installing in the park. That does not include all the beautiful lights that are downtown or on city facilities, because that is not handled by my staff. But my team shows up every day and they work really hard and they problem solve and they get creative, and there's how many remember 33,000 lights in the park? So we came up with this year. And now that they are on and beautiful and everybody's enjoying them, they have moved on to doing a ton of leaf cleanup and winterizing our assets and getting prepared for the changing of the seasons. And with the opening of Cedar Park and finally kind of getting a chance to catch our breath, I have redistributed the work amongst my team. So you'll see staff at different locations than what you might have been seeing the staff out there before, and they're sharing the responsibilities differently, which is working out really well and making for a great, cohesive, happy team. And then one of my team members came to me this morning with a really fun video that I just want to share with you. If you'll remember, as part of the 362nd expansion, there was some rehabilitation of the pond out at Sandy Bluff that took place, and we have had an otter move into the park. And so
That is so cool.
Can you see my screen?
Nope, well, I can see you.
You can see me. Oh, let's hit share. See, I'm not as good at this as Chelsea and Rochelle. Now, do we have the video up?
It is there.
Okay, here we go. So he is just out there frolicking and having fun this morning. Brandon said he got to watch him for like 10-15 minutes just enjoying our pond. And so then he dives under and he doesn't really come back up for a little while. But I really found this exciting and fun. And then did some research, and otters moving in are a sign of a healthy. Do you want to see, Linda?
I hear there's an otter.
There is an otter. It's a sign of a healthy ecosystem and a healthy stream. So I'm really excited that he's here.
Oh, still seeing you.
Uh-oh.
There we go.
I just don't know what I'm doing with these things, do I? There we go.
The coolest thing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
See, I guess we do have public at our meeting.
I'll hide now.
Well, that's awesome, Tiana. Thank you.
You are welcome. That's my update.
And I just, I'll close out by saying, the department's been working really hard on updating our park rules. So in January, we'll actually have our new board members will be joining us, will be the first meeting that they will be attending. And so once that appointment goes through December 16th, we'll make an official announcement. And then the first agenda item for the year will be revamping and taking a look at those park rules. So right now, it's on the desk of the Sandy Police Department. They're taking a review of it. We'll have our attorney review it, and then input from the Parks Board on our park rules. So we've had the same park rules for, gosh, I don't even know how long. And it's been an interesting 3 years because we've been keeping track of enforcement challenges we've been experiencing because of our parks rules, and then also rules that we don't have that we wish we had based on experiences over the last 3 years. So, and then research. We've been doing a lot of research on how other departments, park and recreation departments, have park rules. So that will come before the board in January. And yeah, John and I will be working on a policy procedure manual. So we're just continuing to, as we used to say, build our empire. So we will continue on doing that. So, okay. That's all I have, Don.
All righty. Anybody else have anything for the good of the order?
I do.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you. Today's my last meeting with y'all. And I feel really sad about it, but I'm hoping I'll see you guys in the community. I'm around, and hopefully I'll be able to pop in from time to time. But I started when Rochelle started, so I feel very bittersweet about it. So it's been a great 3 years, and just thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, sir. Or thank you for your service.
Yeah. I'm around. Don't be a stranger.
There we go. Well, with that, we will adjourn the meeting. And as I'm leaving, I will say Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Merry Christmas.